Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Estella Vim Ladris. I am Kai. I use he, they, and she pronouns, and you're back for another episode of Seems Right. Before we get into it, let's talk about it. We live in a time filled with cruelty, genocide, and hate that is blasted at us in a non-stop torrent, and this can feel so overwhelming. I want you watching this to know that it's okay and very normal to feel overwhelmed. The task before us is not to let that feeling become inaction or hopelessness. All it takes is doing one thing, whether it's attending a protest, donating, or any other act of care for yourself or your community that helps you survive and persist in resistance. All it takes is one of those things a day to create change, especially if we all do just one. One person cannot change the world, but many individuals doing one thing can. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And after or even during this video, I hope you can just take one action. Don't forget that also care for yourself, your friends, and family in your community are fundamental to radical action and change. Be there for those in need in your community and ask for help if you are that person in need. The only way through this is together. In caring for those right beside us in our immediate communities, we must not forget the world that we live in. We should fight for the freedom of those oppressed around the world, especially those facing genocide and violent oppression. I say whole-chestedly, I stand with Palestine and the other peoples who are actively being oppressed in Sudan, the DRC, and all other oppressed peoples of the world in their struggle for liberation. It is so important that we stand with Palestine now more than ever. And I hope that you can just take one action today in aid and solidarity with the Palestinian people, both in Gaza and the West Bank, who are facing oppressive Zionist genocide. You can use !Gaza here in my chat on YouTube to see some resources of places that you can send aid or other actions you might take. And I hope that, again, if you can only do one thing today, just do one of those. Taking action as a community can make a real difference. I am so grateful to be a part of such an amazing, beautiful, fruitful community of people who actually care about the world that we live in. It makes it so much more worthwhile to tell meaningful art in a world with people who also bring that meaning into the world. Art, love, joy are all acts of resistance, but they only work if we actually resist while we're doing it. And telling stories with you all, for you all, and talking about them here on this channel and in all the other places that I do my streaming and performing work, it makes it so joyful to come to these places and share these stories with you all because you care, you do something about it. The world that we live in is ours. And so small actions, acts of love, acts of courage, acts of care are so important. And I am always so overjoyed to see everyone lifting each other up through mutual aid and uplifting important causes and communities that we all love and care about. So thank you so much for sharing your space and your time with me, both being here watching this video, either currently live on Twitch or in the future on the VOD or over on YouTube. It means so much to me to share in a space that these things, the world that we live in, matters. If you are enjoying these streams, please consider following, and if you're able to, subscribing. I am an independent content creator, and all of your support helps me continue to tell stories and talk to you about what you can do to make your stories more rich and personal, which we're going to talk about today. If you're watching here live on Twitch, hello, welcome to the live chat. Please feel free to engage actively in that chat. We're going to be talking about some stuff today that's all about playing games and having a good time and why you should do it. If you are watching later on YouTube or over on the VOD here on Twitch, thank you so much for watching. And if you're watching over YouTube, you give it a little like, a little subscribe to that channel. If you're watching here on Twitch, maybe hop over to my YouTube and give it a little subscribe over there. I drop all of my videos about a week now after they air here live on Twitch over on YouTube for perpetuity. Thank you so much for the resub, Azra. Oh, I love that you're here. Thank you so much for being here and being such a great person to share streams and stories and chat with. Thank you. Gosh, I'm really in my feelings today, everybody. Shouldn't surprise anybody who watched the Arc 3 interlude on Sunday. Saturday, I am still in my feelings. But yes, thank you for all of your help, and a special huge thank you to the anonymous person who gifted me from my throne a small rig for my desktop setup that I'm going to use to actually hold. I have a light over here that just sits on my desk that I used during Transplaner that is going to actually have a proper mount now for that clamp. So thank you, and for also some amazing Magic cards that I'm so excited to get because I really love this set and I would have never bought it for myself, and a quiver to hold my playmat in. So thank you to whoever gifted those to me. It means so much to me that someone wanted to bring me both joy and something very functional that I will treasure so much. So you can always go and support me either through my Ko-Fi. You can I have if you go to my card page, which I will share in chat. If you go to the estellavanladris.card.co, I do have a support page in there. It tells you different ways that you can support me, either through hiring me for consulting work or freelancing, or through things like I have Amazon wishlist, an Etsy wishlist, and my throne all on there. So it really brightened my day, and I was actually so shocked I almost fell out of my bed in the morning when I saw the message. And the first person to tell me was my mom, which is a whole other thing. She did not send these to me. She saw an auto-posted message, and I was like, what are you talking about? So thank you 1,000 times to whoever did that. I've already started to receive some of them, and it was quite a treat and a joy and a surprise. Let's see. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month here in the U.S. And don't forget that we can continue to celebrate this all the way through the 15th, but you should also celebrate Hispanic heritage year-round, as the incredible Latin community has brought such beautiful resonance, food, culture, texture to the world that we live in. So go and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month by uplifting Latin shops, artists, stories, and history this month. And in the same breath, also happy Philippine Heritage Month. Our lovely neighbors from my homeland, another community that I feel so lucky to have grown up so surrounded by is the incredible Filipino community here in Southern California. And so happy Philippine Heritage Month to all of you, and another community that you should definitely go learn a lot about, because the Philippines have had a lot of very topical struggles and different, all kinds of both recent modern political history, but also they also were colonized, and there's a lot of echoing stories there of things that I have seen the world over that you can learn from and also grow from their beautiful culture. And I could say a lot about Filipino culture. It's a very beautiful culture with also fucking killer food, great people. So happy Filipino Heritage Month. Yeah, and with that, let's get into it. So this episode of Seems Right is partly a rant, partly a conversation. But let's look me in the eye. I love you all so much. I need all of you. This is your homework. I need you to have a fucking home game. I need you to play tabletop games for fun. And that is the subject of today's stream. It's something that comes up often. So a little bit of the background of this before I get into the bigger rant. Ever since the rise of popular actual play, there has been a prevalence in, oh, this is so good, I want to share it as an actual play. And the idea behind that is beautiful and fantastic. And as long as there has been people telling stories for themselves, there have been iterations of those stories being given to public use, public consumption. I have a little bit of a what is actual play stream that you can go back and watch, where I talk a little bit about some of the history of actual play. There's also some really cool research going on about the history of actual play. But I'm here to tell you, not everything needs to be an actual play. And if you do actual play, you better have a home game. And this is a threat from me to you because I love you. I have a rule. So I am a working TTRPG professional. When I'm offline, I am a professional playtester, game runner, game designer, consultant. You name the weird hat in the TTRPG space, it's coming to the point where I've probably worn some shade of it, which is fantastic, and I couldn't be happier about it. But also, if tabletop were just the thing I do for fun all of the time, that would also be great. And my rule in all of that is, if I ever stop playing tabletop offline for fun, I have to quit this industry entirely. Not because it means that I don't love tabletop. You can do what you love and get paid for it. This is not an argument against that. But at its core, tabletop gaming goes back to one of the oldest traditions in human history, which is telling stories to each other. It is one of the things that I think why tabletop saw such an explosion over 2020 in lockdown, because we craved connection and storytelling to each other. Those old stories, people telling stories around the fire, and why we have oral legend and things like that is because we've always told stories to each other. And the act of playing a tabletop offline with just your friends or whomever you cobble together to roll some dice, play some cards, move some minis, whatever it is you do, that is one of the oldest things we have ever done as a society of people. And so to hold love for the game, if you will, is so important in tabletop that very easily I've seen people lose perspective as to what the point is of tabletop games. So from the like bird's eye view, there's like, I've talked to Dr. M. Freeman about the quantity of actual play that exists at any point in time, which is actually astounding amount of actual play. There's so many actual plays, and this is everything from your crit roll, your dimension 20, your adventure zone, even like, you know, pretty high production like Dungeons and Daddies and like stuff that has a pretty decent sized following behind it. We got your one shot. We got all of these, you know, pretty prolific names in the space, including Transplanter RPG and a bunch of other amazing people. But there's also actual plays that if you go onto Podchaser or Twitch and you look at their numbers, it's like 4 people have ever watched this. And there's nothing wrong with those actual plays. As a person who has produced and been in quite a few of them, there's nothing wrong with them. But at the end of the day, one of the biggest arguments I have for why I always ask people when they want to start an actual play, and I've been a part of many starting actual plays. My question is always, what about this story do you want to give to people? And is the translation from sitting around a table when you can schedule people and playing a game versus all the production that goes into it and all of the time that goes into it, is that worth the transition for the outcome? Or, I mean, like, for example, I treat my home game actually quite a bit like an actual play. It has been running for 5 years as of last month. And we have played 120 something sessions of that game. And that isn't including all the other offshoot home gamey related things that I have done because of that home game. And that home game will never be an actual play. That world may never be in an actual play. But it is the game that got me started in TTRPG again as an adult. And I hold it very dearly. And you'll see me talk about it on the internet, but it is a like sacred and special place for me that I share with my friends who are not actual play performers for the most part. And it is a place for us to share a story together. and that is the only people we are telling that story for. And that is always the difference for me in actual play of who are you telling the story for? Because you should always tell, even in actual play, the story for the people at your table. But in home games, that's where the like audience for that ends. So you can have funny in-jokes, and you can not even believe that a fourth wall exists. Because you can also get up and step away and pause at weird interludes and things like that. And you don't have to worry about editing those out. You can just, oh, actually, I'm going to go walk the dog for a minute. I'll be back in like 10, and then we can get back into this combat or whatever, Whereas in actual play, there is another group of people who are watching your table. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, why do I want to add an audience to this table outside of the story we're telling is good? Because there's a lot of good stories that are told around tables that will never be recorded, other than the notes of the players and the GM notes. And that's okay, because those stories are still important. They are an act of care, community, art, and time spent with people that you care about. And sometimes I think the translation into actual play adds more layers to that and removes some of that personalness. And so, like, I love my home game. I think it's incredible. It is a story I am telling for like a total of 5 people. I am one of them. I tell it for me. There's a lot of self-indulgent shit in there. And you should find places where you feel safe to be extremely self-indulgent, extremely experimental, extremely like in your shit about 4-hour-long combats and things like that. So like, this is me saying with my whole chest, tabletop games are games that are meant to be played. And not every actual play that's out there should be an actual play. This is not a knock on the quality. This is, why didn't you just keep this as a home game? Why didn't you just play this game? I love playing offline. I played offline yesterday. I love playing games offline. Because I love performing a lot. But casually being able to just sit around and tell stories for just the people in the room is very safe, very freeing, because I love sharing stories with all of you, but sometimes I need to just say stuff for me, and I know that you all also have stuff that you just need to say for you. And so home games are, I'm gonna get a little bit more into like what I mean and why home games are so special. And some of it is, I've play tested games that my friends were writing for fun offline that we were just playing as a home game. Those games weren't good. They don't play well. They'll never see the light of day. It is a place to experiment, both in your character concepts, in storytelling styles, in the games themselves. You can try games that you're like, oh, no, this is a terrible actual play, actually. Like, I love 5th edition. 5th edition is like the... D&D 5th edition is like the actual play system. I don't know that it makes good actual play, because it has more mechanics than there is sometimes room for story. I love 5th edition. I've run so much of it. I've played it in actual plays. But not every system makes a good actual play if you're there to tell a story. Now, if you're there for the, and you've heard me talk about this before, the like esports style, let me see how you roll the dice, let me see how you math everything together, let me see how you build your character, to see the mechanics of it. Sure, yeah, then it's a great actual play system. But like, you all have watched me play games. I love a game that swings wildly between, let me tell you 30 mechanics, and what are dice? I haven't seen a dice in an entire session. I like both quite a bit. And the purpose and form of actual play for public consumption, I think sometimes dilutes that experimentation in, is this a fun game to play? And there are games now that have been developed with the intention of actual play. Like, I've written one. We wrote The Home We Remember for Lori's house and for other people to play in that order. And if you listen to Lori's house, we do not play The Home We Remember to the letter. Partly because we were developing the game as we were playing, but also because there were things that we had originally concepted into the game that we edited out, that we changed, that we said, that's not as fun. That doesn't actually work for the stories that we're telling, or even just this story. And the other side of it being, some games, especially looking at it from a game designer perspective, you should just be able to play a game. I've opened games that I'm like, this is unplayable. Whoever wrote this was writing it for a very specific scenario, a very specific audience, very often for very specific people to play it. And so consumability of a game, well, sometimes, I know people who've written games that are actually not meant to be played. Humna. But I also know people who wrote games with the full intentionality of people being able to play them, and then at the table they are not mechanically sound. And this is the place to test such things, to experiment, to try. Let me build a completely suboptimal character and see how it goes. I've done that, though that was for an actual play. And so, like, having space for yourself to experiment is so important. In game design, in gameplay, there are also just some systems that I'm like, why would you do this as an actual play? Or like, they're not sustainable for the normal expected duration of an actual play, which is anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. Yeah, so that is a huge part of it, is you should be able to experiment offline whenever you want with people that you want to experiment with. The second part of this is actual play is a lot of work. It's fun as hell, but it's a lot of work. And I think we need to respect the amount of work when deciding to take something that is fun and offline and put it on the internet. Because, and there are incredible people who have written so much about this and talked about this at length, because, like, I know that Stella has published some really cool, like, resources and talked quite a bit about producing and shepherding it that way. And, like, I've seen C talk about production stuff, and Chris as well, Chris Colon, talk about, like, production and the time that goes into it. And if you've watched this, you've also heard me rant about how, like, production is time consuming, is an attention drawing, it is work. And so if you are putting work into your fun, as a person who has done this and discovered it didn't work out in the equation the way that we had done it, there's a lot of work that goes into making an actual play. And if you are a person thinking about making an actual play, I encourage you to learn about production, editing, whatever medium that you are looking to produce your actual play in, whether it is audio only, audio and video, live, recorded and edited, etc. I encourage you to learn about that production process, because I don't want you to think this is me telling you don't make more actual plays. Everyone should be able to make an actual play. There are plenty of good ones, and I'm sure that you have cool ones cooking in your brain. This is not me telling you not to do it. This is me saying, if you want to put your home game on the internet, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And maybe have a home game and make an actual play. Maybe don't do both. So yes, the production side of actual play is immense. Graphics, like tech, because even if you're all in one room, that's a lot of tech. If you are all remote, that's a lot of tech. If there's an overlay, that is work. If there is sound editing, that is work. Music, etc. All of these things take time. They take resources. Some of them take money. So bearing in mind all of that, I hope that if you are participating in an actual play, especially one that is just done for fun, that you value your labor, the labor of the people at your table, the labor of any production people outside of that, and the time that it takes to do all of those things. Because running a game on its own, if you run a game like I do, even offline, takes time. It takes planning, reading. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Nope. No, I'm not. That's worse. Anyways. Yeah. Yes. Yes, you find that if you are working on actual plays, especially if you're working on your own self-produced actual play, all you do is work on actual play. And secondly, 1000%, yes, Jovi is right. They are saying in chat that the boundary between work and play is very important, and not everything is meant to be profitable. Not everything is capitalism. Yeah, you can have every good intention and aspiration, but the moment that you start making your fun your work, it changes everything. It changes your dynamics with the people you are working with. It changes the impetus behind how you record, when you record, why you record. It completely changes everything. And this is the same can be said for a solo artist who does, who draws and then wants to start selling their art. Commissions are different. I drew a line a very long time ago that I don't sew for other people unless they are like my direct friends and if we have an understanding about it. I don't do commission work because I don't like sewing for other people. It takes too much time and energy for me to do that. And it's hard. And it's just not my strong suit. And I have big respect for the people who can, but I don't do commissions for sewing specifically. Because it takes the joy out of it for me. And so like having that balance, and this goes back to my whole rule of like, if I stop loving TTRPGs in a way where I want to play them offline for fun, just for me to be a funny guy, I have to change jobs. I have to find a new industry. I have to go get a different career, which I've done before and I'll do again if I have to, but I hope that never comes. But that rule exists for me because it is so important to me that I love tabletop first. And that I find ways to tell stories and have joy in playing games with people in my community, with my friends, with my family, outside of the work aspect of it. Yeah, so much of it is respecting the amount of time that someone is putting into it. So going back to what I was talking about, I do record all of my home games. I actually learned OBS that I am talking to you through right now, the program, so that I could record my home games. I use it as a very fancy screen capture device, basically, because I have shit memory. Even though I have great memory, I have very specific memory. And I would rather be in the fiction with my party as the GM than sit around and like pause and take notes. And so sometimes I'll be live taking notes, little ones, but boy, sometimes they do not make sense. And I can go back and go, what did I mean here by this note? And I can go re-watch. I give my party complete recordings of every session, and I know at least 2 of them do re-listen to like every single one of them. That is one of their weekly podcast listens. Yeah. Oh god, Puck, you're so right. Puck is saying in chat, on the same vein of having a balance, you need to have the diligence and motivation to work on your projects. I know that's something I hugely struggle with as I've been working on this production. Yeah, the dedication, motivation, and that expectation of momentum. Because that's the other thing, is when you take something, and this deep in the heart of the production thing, is when you take on a project, I would say that 90% of actual play has at least one other person in it besides you, the producer, or whoever the producer is. And so not only are you depending on this show to be done because you have put the work on yourself, but also the other people at the table in this story are waiting for it to be done. Like, I've done, and this is kind of it's a joke almost in the AP space of some pre-records just go into a folder somewhere to die because people will never finish those edits. And that's sad, honestly. I don't love that there are great performances out there that have been memory hold that were intended for public consumption because the project just didn't get finished. I have some that I've done that I recorded them with the understanding that I was like, I don't know if this is ever going to see the light of day. And it actually changes how I feel about those projects, which is really interesting. Because it's not that I don't trust the people who recorded them. It's like the circumstance of like, oh, we're trying something. We're doing blah, blah, blah. That the I, as a performer, my intentionality changes every setting depending on if it is for public consumption or not. And it's not that I play that differently, because genuinely, like, I went in full costume yesterday to something that I did not need to at all. We were sitting around a table playing, a game, and that was it. But I do that. I just roll up to places in costumes and makeup and stuff like that, because that's for me, as I've told you many times on this channel. Let's see here. Puck says, Puck hates getting into the headspace to sit and work on audio editing, especially if they don't have an immediate deadline. Yeah, big same. It turns out I hate audio editing. I'm great at scoring, but if I have to edit all of the ums and breaths and long pauses out of stuff, I'm like, oh, wow, editing is really hard. Really hard. And I don't like it. And Puck is saying that for one of their projects, they're actually doing the audio editing the day they were supposed to go live. Yeah, listen, big salute to you. It was something that I learned over a year of doing an audio podcast editing project, where I was like, oh, I hate this. I hate this a lot, actually. And one of the gifts I got myself was one of those episodes. I paid someone to edit it because I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I just told everyone to be cool with it because I was like, I'll kill. It wouldn't be any of them, but there would be violence involved. Because editing is hard, and it's definitely not for everybody. And value your audio editors, value your video editors. So yeah, the medium of actual play requires, I think, more than it seems like on the surface. I come from a background of production. And so one of my big things is always to value the work behind the camera. Because that's where I came from. My union, IATSE, is almost exclusively people that you'll never see. You'll never know their names. They'll never be famous because their job is behind the camera. Yep. Jason in chat, his desire not to edit things outweighs my desire to tell audio video stories. Yeah, you're right. It's a skill. It's a skill, and it's very time consuming, even if you're good at it. And so this is me mostly just cautioning you. If you are thinking, wow, I really like TTRPGs. What if I turn my TTRPG that I love into an actual play? Every single person that I know that's ever done that, the first thing that they learn is, wow, this is a lot of work. Because it's a lot of work. And so, like, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Any show that I'm on, if we are thanking the crew, the producers, the tech that goes behind it, it's whole chested, baby. I love you, Mars from Transplaner. fucking all the behind the scenes work that C and Connie do to get the Chaos Protocol looking and sounding so slick. Like, that's so much work. The purposeful like streamlining of work on Happy Jacks is astounding and clever, because it is not done for pay. It is done for fun and the love of the game, and we want things to be good for everybody, but also like it shouldn't take up all of our time. It is so much work to edit and even just posting videos. Part of the reason I even have a delay in the upload for the videos for my streams is because it takes a while for my computer just to upload it, and I have to leave my computer on and have everything running so that the video transfers, because I've also had my computer go to sleep in that process. It's a whole thing. But all production, whether that is graphics, advertising, social media, editing, equipment, sound checks, camera setups, all of these things take time. So if you love the story you're telling and you want to share it with other people, know that you will have to triple the amount of time you spend telling that story to turn it into an actual play. I'm not even joking. And like, even if you have very little scope of like social media and stuff for it, like those things all take time. Which kind of gets into my next point, which I guess I'll start on because there's still quite a while until break. So, my next point is that, scope. If you are producing an actual play and you don't like social media, you don't want to interface with other people, and you don't have other people involved in the project who want to do those things, don't produce an actual play. I hate to tell you that you're not going to have an audience unless you do that. And this is just a fact, and I hate it because social media is kind of terrible. But unless you are willing to do the legwork to tell people that your actual play exists, no one's going to find it, because there are so many actual plays out there. There's an astounding number of actual plays out there. Even if you just go on Spotify or any podcasting platform and search actual play, holy shit, guys. That is so many actual plays. And so the one thing that you can do is be in a community of people like you all are, and promote and be on social media and make graphics and make cast posts. And it's a lot of work. So again, it goes into that tripling the time that you spend on your game to make an actual play. Part of the making of an actual play, I promise you, even if you're like, I don't think a lot of people are going to watch it, no one will watch it unless you have people that you advertise it to. And this includes word of mouth. If you're making a podcast for your home game and you want to share with another group of friends, that word of mouth practice takes time. It takes effort and energy. And so one of the biggest things that I hope I can convey to you is all of these things are time. All of them go into making actual play. And I want you to, with clear eyes, know that not everything is needing all of that time. And sometimes that time can be better spent on your game, having fun, telling a story with your friends. Because that's what TTRPGs in their concepting were for. And I'm not going to go all the way down the rabbit hole of all of my feelings about social media. As a person who spends a lot of time on social media, I practically quit social media for like 5 years when I was in grad school. It was kind of an incidental, because I just kind of didn't have a lot of time for it. But I've been online my entire life, and it was probably the most I removed myself from social media, and I kind of never went back all the way in the way that I had been engaging with social media. And it changed my social media diet. It changed the way I engage with it. It changed the way I think about it. Because I went, oh, I'm okay without this. And specifically the amount of time, for me personally, the amount of time that scrolling social media was taking in my life, things like Instagram, TikTok didn't exist yet. I was like, oh, I don't need this. And I just kind of, TikTok I enjoy in theory. But I actually, my brain just is like, nah. I also used to love Tumblr, and my brain's just like, you could visit Tumblr sometimes. That's fine. Hi, Turtle Care. Welcome in. We are going to go on break in a couple minutes, but welcome to my rant about how you should play TTRPGs for fun for yourself at home without turning them into actual plays. Yeah, I know that scrolling social media is a time suck, but it is also a skill and a language to be able to use those things if you are going to promote your TTRPG. And so there's this wild, like, around and around and around of, like, think of this as like 3 different buckets of thought. One of them is you should play TTRPGs for fun because they're made to be played for fun. One of them is making an actual play is a lot of work. It is time, it is energy, it is skill, it is craft. And then the third secret bucket is having an audience is hard and takes also a lot of time and energy. That all of these other buckets could all be spent doing one of them or all of them. And there is kind of no in between. If you are a performer that is out there freelancing, like how I started an actual play, and why a lot of people get started in actual play is that it's not that you're taking your home game and turning it into an actual play, it's that you are joining other people's games that are produced with the intention of being an actual play, and that is completely a different thing. I'm specifically talking about the phenomena that is people following the trajectory of Critical Role, where Critical Role was a home game. There's like all kinds of evidence and anecdotes and stories that this was just a home game. And they brought it onto stream, which is why the story doesn't start at the beginning. They don't fully even explain who the fuck these people are at the beginning of campaign 1, because they've been playing them for a while. Not a long time is my understanding, but a while. And this myth of taking your home game and putting it onto the internet became a thing. But there's some factors in the genesis of Critical Role that I think a lot of people forget that are still important to why Critical Role kind of isn't a part of the TTRPG ecosystem in the same way as practically every other actual play, which is that they are famous voice actors already. They were voice actors when the show started. They operate the show as professional voice actors. And there are ups and downs to that. Some of the downs being that they don't do the things that the rest of the TTRPGs ecosystem is doing and changing and talking about. And it doesn't always reflect well on them, that, you know, there might be important conversations being had in the actual play space that they are not a part of, because they operate differently, and they still do to this day. And Dimension 20 is not that dissimilar, where they pull from their pool of people, and yes, they do a little bit more interfacing with the wider actual play ecosystem, but like, they are a professional production, casting live and local only, and they specifically source from comedians and people who have that kind of training. And so these mythoses of how actual play exists is, of course, then like a reason for people to go like, well, I could do that. Because you can take your home game and turn it into a show. But this is my caution about like what they did. They had a lot of money behind, because while Geek and Sundry eventually cratered, like, there was money behind it. They had a studio space. They had, you know, production people there. They had professional cameras. They had like real LA production behind even the earliest low tech version of Critical Role, that you would not have if you take your home game, unless you are watching this and you are a famous voice actor or LA production person who happens to have a studio in their back pocket, because that's not normal. That's not normal. And so they had the benefit of jumping into an existing production pipeline. And it's not a knock on them, it's just true. And so something that a lot of people forget is, oh yeah, Crit Role used to be a home game, and now they're a uber famous 10-year long, force in the space. Yes, but they started well ahead of most actual play. Most actual play starts in someone's living room. It starts, through just someone with the raw desire, Connie Chung, of putting together their first overlay and figuring it out. And there's a lot of joy and aha moments in the not knowing any better, but also on the flip side, I think that we can now as a community reach out and say, you can still stumble into the unknown and learn it on your own, but here's the things that you should know before you do that. And I think that that's kind of my goal in this, is not to say don't make actual play. It is to say play TTRPGs for fun, because you should, and that's what they're for. And actual play is a lot of work. So decide you want to do a lot of work to tell a story. Yeah, that's a lot of it. I'm happy to take questions and chat about it. Oh yes, thank you, Jason. Happy Campaign 4 to all those who celebrate. I have not started Campaign 4 because I kid you not, everybody, all I've thought about for the last week is, holy shit, the interlude. Yeah, that happened last week. It did, and I know a lot of people have watched it, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. I have not watched it yet because I live and breathe for Transplanar RPG. Happy Arc 3 interlude, Arc 4 starting very soon to all those who celebrate. Yeah, and I think strap in, Puck. Yeehaw, baby. Aw. Thanks, y'all. Well, on that note, I am going to send us to break. I'm going to get up and stretch and fight my technology and see if I can bring back the captions. But if not, please leave your captioners on for the break. And when we come back, I will tell you all what the status is of that. But I'm going to go see what's going on with the captioning. And we'll be back in about 10 minutes. See you then. Hello, everyone. Welcome back from break. I saw that much earlier I missed a hydrate from Risky. Thank you, Risky. And I owe you all a cat, which I have an absolutely to die for picture of my terrible son. Here we go. Look at him. Baby. Baby, baby, baby. Just so baby. It's only baby time up in here. Yeah, he's baby. Nope. Nope. How dare you cover the baby? I started talking to him, and he flooped over. I was just like, oh, hello, Papa. It's a little baby boy. My cute little baby son. Yep. Baby. All tucked in. He tucked himself in. Terrible. He's so pretty. It's annoying. He knows he's cute, which is also annoying. Cats shouldn't know they're cute. It's really a problem, actually. Yeah. So yeah, welcome back to this episode of Seems Right, which is kind of a rant, kind of a ramble, very open to it being more of a conversation. But yeah, I'm sharing my very strong feelings about how you should play TTRPGs for fun. I say as a professional TTRPG performer, you should play TTRPGs for fun. The next leg of our journey. Oh, first of all, to check in on the captions thing, I think that my captioner might have been discontinued in the last OBS update. So I'm going to look into it. But if you are someone who needs captions to understand what I'm saying, please use the caption option that's integrated into Twitch. And for YouTube viewers, I'm going to see what I can do. But there is currently no captions on this video, and I sincerely apologize. There is an auto-captioner available on YouTube as well. I cannot promise the accuracy of either of these things. But I'm going to try and find a fix for it by Wednesday. I promise. So, with that all said, the next leg of our journey is kind of just an anecdotal thing before I get into anything else, which is that knowing other TTRPG performers, this is not just me on my little island having this opinion. I actually know quite a few TTRPG performers that you would never guess either like got their start in actual play, and you like watch them perform live for the first time learning how to play TTRPGs. These are people that they've maybe had a few tutorials here and there, but their first time playing in anything longer than like a quick one shot was like live on stream, or on, recording or whatever. And I'm always surprised when I meet AP performers, especially here in LA, that are like, yeah, I really like playing, but I don't have any home games. And it's like something that I've heard quite a few times in the last couple of weeks is people's, not having those connections. And it isn't to say that it's like, a judgment on anybody that they don't have people to put together a table, because we are talking about one of the most notoriously hard things about TTRPGs. Thank you, Lena, for the hydrate. Is the joke not joke about the BBEG being scheduling. It's definitely true, especially because of people like yours truly. But that playing TTRPGs, you only get better by doing it with time. And so, like, even if you aren't looking to turn your home game into an AP and you're just interested in actual play, I encourage you to play as much tabletop as you can get your hands on. Be voracious. Play strange stuff. When I started in actual play, part of my, thing about it was I was just curious to play other systems. I had played almost exclusively 5e, and a little bit of other stuff, but I started in actual play almost exclusively playing indie horror games. I played a good 6 or 7 horror games. Yes, Jason, you are the BEBEG of IRL scheduling. No, you're a paladin of scheduling. Yeah. So the big thing that I learned when I first stepped into playing indie games in a meaningful way as an actual play performer was I don't know shit all. And it sent me down a rabbit hole. It made me fall in love with indie games pretty extensively. And since then, I've written indie games. I've played a shitload of indie games. And I don't just mean from small publishers, which there are plenty of indie publishers out there publishing incredible work that is, as professional and beautifully finished as the stuff that, Dungeons and Dragons is made of. But I'm even talking all the way down to zines and shit published for free on itch. I love indie games in all of their versions and all of their facets. I love them so much. It's why one of my biggest badges of honor is being nominated pretty much every year since I became a AP performer for best indie player, because I love playing indie games and I love learning new systems because I am a mechanics fiend. I want to devour all of the unusual mechanics in a system. And through this revelation that was gifted to me by actual play, I went through and then was like, I want to play indie games. I want to play them all the time. Can we play an indie game right now? And my home game is 5th edition. They've threatened to riot if I ever change it to 2024 rules. Like, we played Dungeons and Dragons 2014, and that is probably what we'll play for the rest of that campaign. But I've also played a lot of games offline that are just like quick one-off, one things here and there. Oh, Erica, you're so strong. So yeah, like, being well versed in how to play and how to balance a table and things like that will only make you a better performer. And, you'll also have a lot of fun doing it, and you'll learn things that you like. I discovered a lot of things that I like about tabletop through playing a lot of tabletop. And it makes me a better performer in that I know how to get at the thing that I want. I can look at a game system and within like an hour or so tell you whether or not this system suits a story that I'm looking to tell. Because I've worked that muscle. It's just practice. And it just so happens that our practice is fun and wonderful. And so, like, I learned very quickly that I love table secrets because my home game is full of them. We had a secret changeling in our party for a year. And so, like, I love a secret. If that's not abundantly apparent in everything I've done on Transplanar RPG, I love a secret. I love half-truths and incomplete stories and secrets. I love them. And so I encourage you to play with things like, do I like secrets? Am I okay with PvP? Where are my safety boundaries before you're doing it live for an audience? And you can do that through TTRPGs. Haha. I know a bunch of people who have found their boundaries of what they feel safe and comfortable doing by playing offline and going hard and making aggressive choices that they go, oh, actually, in retrospect, that wasn't for me. And it makes it feel easier than when you are in a situation with audiences to make strong choices, but know where your lines are. Oh, poor Jason. Yeah, Monster of the Week is great. And 5e is also great as a person who does like it. But it is a very different game system than Monster of the Week. Oh God, you're so right. Erica, you're so right. Erica says there's a bad culture of feeling like you need to know everything before trying a TTRPG. It should be more normalized to learn as you go. I think that one of my biggest hurdles to getting back into TTRPGs after I full stop was afraid to do them for years was the learning curve, because I didn't have someone to teach me. And so one of my things as a GM is I am always the person, like, there's a reason I'm a playtest GM. I do a lot of playtesting, is I will learn a system, then I'm going to say, we're going to learn it together. I am a quick start guide of a person when it comes to game systems. And I will, now even for APs that I'm not the GM of usually, I will like eat the system before I sit down to play it so that I have a strong backbone of the game, but not because I think that's expected of me, but because that's how I learn. But I didn't used to be that way. I needed people to sit me down and go, this is how the game works. This is how you roll the dice. This is how the dice pools work. And both of those are completely fine. In my book, we should have so much more space for this pace at which people learn, and the different ways that people learn. Because there are so many kinesthetic learners. There are so many like learning through doing learners that TTRPGs are a shared experience. And like, I think that so much of table culture needs to be an invitation and not a punishment. Yeah, and it wasn't until I figured out that I wasn't going to be like, actually, that's not how those mechanics works, when I started playing TTRPGs, and it was more of a conversation, and like rules lawyering is very fun to me, that I went, oh, I can do this. And you should always interrogate and maybe try and change the culture of any table that doesn't share that same feeling. Erica says D&D is played a lot and it's crunchy as hell. You are right. And people give leeway with people still learning the ropes. With other games, I find there's less social leeway with people playing for the first time. Yes, I agree. I love a video tutorial. That shit's so good. Even games that I think I know really well, if I'm going back to them for the first time, I might go and watch like a video tutorial, or even a game that I was running yesterday. I was like, I know how to run this game better than probably most people. I'm still going to go watch a video about something because I was like, I need to litigate some mechanics before I sit down at a table about this. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you, Turtle Kier. Turtle Kier had an experience of being thrown well into the deep end, and that's really rough. But this is why, again, like, I, as a person, if I didn't know what I know about games and was sitting down to play at a new game system, would rather sit down offline than online if I was learning at the pace I was originally learning games. Because I want to know that no one is watching me flounder. And, like, it's okay to flounder on stream, don't get me wrong, but I'm a perfectionist, if you haven't noticed. And I don't like floundering. I am that AP gifted kid that's like, I don't want people to know that I don't know things. And so I completely empathize with the situation of, I don't know this and I feel like I want to. I have the great fortune of playing with people that even if I did have that feeling, and I have had it before, where I can ask those questions. And, like, it's one of the reasons why I'll always go running back to Happy Jacks. Happy Jacks is a game system education platform as much as it is also a storytelling platform. And so, like, we will talk about the mechanics. We will get into the shit about, like, how the mechanics work and how they interact with the story. But we're an indie game learning channel as much as we are also a storytelling channel. So we do live stream character generation, and we do talk about the mechanics of things, and they have an entire talk back show on Saturdays entirely about, like, hurdles that game designers, GMs, and players run into at the table so that we can talk about it as a community. Because TTRPGs are community storytelling. Yeah, Erica's talking about a system tells you the rules and then gives you an example of how to play. It was actually very important to me when we were doing development on The Home We Remember, because we have those amazing transcripts from the episodes of Lori's House to go back to, but I specifically pulled out some examples to explain what is a very conceptual game, because I was like, in order to explain to people how this works, even when I was explaining it to the cast as the GM, I said, okay, we're going to talk about how these loops work and why the mechanics work the way they work. And I basically used the exact same things that I used to explain it to the cast in the book to talk about how to talk through memories and time loops in The Home We Remember, because so many people are, like, learn by seeing, learn by doing people. And you can, yeah, I love 10 Candles has a really good one that has like a 4 or 5 page section that's just gameplay. I'm learning Candela Obscura. Don't worry about why. And there's like a huge section of just gameplay text of the game developers and some play testers sitting around and playing the game and talking through the mechanics and explaining why they're doing what they're doing. And it's important both on the production end of a game to do that, where you are documenting what it looks like and feels like and sounds like to play the game, but also on the other side to then publish it and be like, this is what it looks like within our intention of how this game should be played. I know a lot of people, that is how they learn. And sometimes I will go through and just look at how specifically GMs litigate rules in those sections. Because most of the time, if I'm learning a game system that I don't know a lot about, if I'm reading it straight out of the book, chances are I'm the GM. So yeah, it is an accessibility thing, like Eric was talking about, that it is a way for, like, neurodivergent people to learn. But it's also just a way for anybody to learn, because you should be able to tick off all the boxes of, can you read the explanation of how mechanically it's supposed to work? Can you see people doing it and learn by watching, essentially, even if it's in text? It's one of the reasons why people like actual play, so that you can go through and actually watch people play a game. So all of these different pieces really matter in learning games. And one of the other ways to kinesthetically learn to play a TTRPG is to sit around and play it and stumble through it. It's why I like quick start guides that explain the rules while you play. The box sets for most of the Free League games have really good learn to play as you go. I really cannot stress enough how much I like Sablewood Messengers, the quick start guide adventure for Daggerheart. The examples in the Wild Sea are also quite good, of just like foundational jumping points. I wish that they do have a few like module type things, but they don't have a like traditional quick start guide. But there's kind of elements of it within the way that the game book itself is written. And these examples are all like, here's a way to get your footing and get a feel for the game without having to go and sit and write a fucking 40-page document or whatever, which I've been known to do. So yeah, one of the big reasons why you should play TTRPGs for yourself offline is so that you can learn games and learn indie games, learn strange games, learn experimental games. And then you can play them in a way that you can feel vulnerable, like you don't know what's going on. And that you can take a 20-minute pause to go read the book. Because that's how people learn. You should be able to learn. Yeah, so there's that part of it. And one of the other things is that, like, and this is kind of a bigger, let's see here, what's Puck saying? Learn while, I'll also say this, I think why I'm so learned by playing is partly because so many TTRPGs I have learned have written formats that do not work with my brain. Yeah, correct. The D&D and City of Mist books, if a system book is written in column format, their brain just doesn't, it just goes, no. And you know what? I hear that. Especially the like large format book column format, I know that you are not the only person I've heard that from. And I personally like it, but I understand that it is such a mixed bag. Yeah. And it could be anything in the formatting that makes it so difficult for certain people to read it. And like color on color pages, you never know when something is not colorblind friendly, or sometimes when people write out numbers in the text and then don't spell it out. People with dyscalculia can really have a heyday with that one. So know that I guess as game designers, it is partly on us to design games with accessibility in mind, and layout artists, it is on layout artists to design layout with accessibility in mind, that kind of stuff. That's such a good point. And also why you should learn with other people, because if the book is written in a way that you can't understand, maybe the people you're with can. I love plain text docs for games. I'm always grateful when I see that they exist. Also just because I want to search it, and graphics make it slower to search a document. Yeah. So yeah, the next thing that I was thinking about this subject is also just a very here we go. I'm going to get on my soapbox. Not everything needs to be money making. Not everything needs to be for public consumption. We live in a world where so much is demanded of us to be public, to be consumable, to be monetized, commodified, etc. And I actually think that having a home game and kind of the conceit of TTRPGs in and of itself is very anti-capitalist. Because even though, yeah, you pay money to buy the books and all that stuff, the stories, the main thing that those books create is just for a handful of people in its original conceit. And You never have to share those stories. You can have something intimate and private, and the world at large has tried to move us as a society away from that, but having personal stories, having spaces that are only for things that are not for public consumption, not for, social media, not for all of these things, is actually really important. And I have spent a lot of time in the last couple of years carving out those spaces for myself to remind myself that having offline joy is so important. And this isn't just for people that do have a big social media presence, do streaming and all that stuff, but also like for anybody, for everybody. Having something that is not commodified is so important. And this goes for any hobby, anything that you enjoy doing. You don't have to turn it into a pursuit that can be packaged. I was talking earlier about how much work it is to do that packaging and how much work and time it takes to do it. But the other side of it is just don't if you don't want to. You don't have to. You can just have it for you. Some of my favorite stories I've ever told were just between me and one or two other people. Foundational things in my life, stories that I will think about forever, rooted in conversations that I had with a few people, games that I played with maybe 3 people, that kind of stuff. And it's actually something that I've seen corporate tabletop really struggle with, because in a world where exponential growth is expected from any intellectual property, if not it's useless or whatever, it's not stock compatible or whatever. Exponential growth is kind of hard to do in tabletop, because the book is only the rules. The actual story, the joy that you get out of it, the fun of playing tabletop isn't the book. I say this as a person who loves tabletop books, who writes in tabletop books, who does a bunch of work for tabletop books. In their heart and soul, tabletop games are not about the book that you buy, the sources that you use, etc. It is about the story you tell. It is the memories you make. And so to make those for yourself and for the people at your table entirely alone is so important and freeing, because you are doing something for nobody else. And it's selfish, but selfish in a very good way. Not everything selfish is bad. And I encourage you, if you walk away from this with very few things that are relevant to your life, know that playing TTRPGs, I think, is very punk, because you are exploring something that is a narrative that is not necessarily given to you in a way that is very personal and tailored to exactly what you want in a way that no algorithm can give you. And you are doing it largely exclusively for your own enjoyment, and no one is going to profit off of the joy that you create, because you've already paid the money for the book. The joy is not coming from the book, it is coming from you. And that is what made me become a TTRPG performer, not all the other things. I wanted to tell stories from the heart. And the only way to do that is to also tell stories from the heart for yourself, and dig deep for yourself, and do things like play 1,000-Year-Old Vampire just for yourself. And one of the reasons I really like 1,000-Year-Old Vampire is that Tim Hutchings is also very clear on this exact subject, that games are a thing that he does not necessarily for money, and that playing a game for yourself is so important. So I hope that you take away that playing tabletop games, not for public consumption, not for any of the other stuff, all that stuff is also good. I also love doing that stuff, but playing games just for yourself as a thing that you have only for you, that's huge, and you should do it forever. I find it very grounding. I think it is the foundation of why I am a TTRPG performer, game designer, etc., is that I found absolute euphoria in telling stories only for myself. So be selfish. Don't commodify, everything, and play a TTRPG at home for fun. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of this thought, but that's the core of it. And like sharing stories about your tabletop games and the joy of your tabletop characters and all that stuff is fantastic. And actual play as a medium, as an art form, as a practice and pursuit, I'm in love with. I think that it's one of the most incredible art forms that we have as humans created in a very long time. But also the other side of it is I need people to still keep tabletop games for themselves sometimes and play them for themselves. And to think hard about turning something into an actual play. Yeah, that's the big core of it. I am also like continuing to think about how to share joy and accomplishment in ways that are just for like us within the community, whether that is people playing TTRPGs at home by themselves or in actual play ways to decentralize a single like voice style kind of actual play, because I think that actual play itself is in a very interesting moment where it is becoming new things every day, and it is an interesting time to be in actual play, and it is an interesting medium for exploring all kinds of things. But you should also take the things that you like about actual play, storytelling, your favorite TV show, comics, novels, and explore them at home for yourself. It's the same reason I think that people should write fanfic and draw fan art and do all of that stuff, because it is something personal and not commodifiable. Fan art is very hard to actually commodify. Hi, Erica. Erica's going to be running their first AP soon. I've been putting off doing a practice one-shot with your friends because before you record, so that you're not a nervous wreck. Oh, this may push them to actually plan that out. You should definitely do it. Also, like, a lot of my favorite AP projects, or at least like groups of people in the AP space that I've gotten to know, I met from doing like offline, just like one shots, just as a like table chemistry, getting to know you, getting to know your style, getting to see what you can do at a game table. The amount of energy that is exerted to make actual play, you have to like work extra hard to also make it fun and good and engaging as a game. And so I hope that you spend that time to do your practice game, because then you'll at least have the muscle memory of running it. Like, and I encourage you to run it like you would run the actual play. But then you'll have the muscle memory of at least some of it, because again, all of this is practice. So much of, I think, what makes good actual play is practice. And it's hard sometimes, especially when I say that and people have a hard time getting cast in things. I've heard this story many times. But good actual play performance, production, etc. all comes from practice, and the same goes for GMing. So I hope that you do plan that, because I think that that is a really good inclination. It's something that we do even on Transplaner. We do 0 sessions and playtesting, but the playtesting isn't just for the system, it's also for us. And it's for us to like continue to play games for ourselves, and play, with what it looks like to tell this story, and iterate on it. We had, for the Home We Remember, we did some playtesting, just to like figure out how to tell this story. Truly, it was about the mechanics, but so much of it was like, hey, are we ready to tell this story as a table with these mechanics, with the style of storytelling, what worked and what didn't work? We did a lot of that. And I find that the more iterating I've been able to do in advance of a show, the better the show is, the better the episode, the whatever is. And I have spent a lot of time practicing how to do that, iterating for myself. Me of the famously long character backstories. Me of the let me make my 25 song playlist. And all of these are also practice. They're practicing thinking through things about your character. But nothing quite beats speaking the words, rolling the dice, telling a story using the mechanics. So I hope you do that. Yeah, and Lena's talking about how doing APs is more tiring than playing a home TTRPG game. You're correct. Even me, like, to me, they're almost similar, and I sit down at the same desk with the same background. I turn on all my lights for either. But it really depends. I will say, because most of my offline play is I'm GMing, I find that GMing just works a completely different set of muscles than playing as a player. And it's so, I was just thinking about this yesterday. Online I'm known as a player. Offline, I am almost exclusively a GM. And I have GM'd. I've GM'd Lori's house. I have GM'd a few other things here and there, but for the most part, I really like being a player online. I love playing offline, but it's so much harder to find GMs. And so I think one of my last thoughts here to close out is, if you play or want to play with a group of people, self-nominate yourself to learn how to GM. I dare you. But then, if you are one of those players that benefits from that ambitious climb to GMing, offer to be the next one. Because I dare you to also do it. Because GMing is fun and fruitful. It isn't for everybody. There are so many ways to GM, though. Like, I started from the world building, huge, dense. I started normal. I did. I didn't start by writing a giant world document. But genuinely, like, I started because I wanted to GM. And I went about it the way that I wanted to. But I also know, and I was talking about this online the other day, that, like, not everybody can do pre-generated modules. I have never run a D&D pre-written adventure. I've done one, and I was, like, paid to be there to do it. And I can run a module. But anything that's longer than, like, one sitting, I'm like, I have no idea how this thing operates. I could read you everything on this page, but there's no meaning behind this. There's no meat to this. Some of them there are, but, like, I'd have to go read a bunch, and I have ADHD. So I would rather write it myself. I'd rather do so much more work than read a book. And it's why, like, one of my offline home games is the Star Wars TTRPG, the official one, because I can just use Star Wars lore, which I already have up here. For the same reason I could run the One Ring system the same way. The lore is already up here, so I may as well use it instead of my home game that I've written too much lore and I should be stopped. But if you are looking to GM, look at quick start guides. If you understand how to run a quick start guide, run a quick start guide. If you want to do light prep, go play a light prep system. There are plenty of them. There are GM-less game systems as well. If you just want to dip your toe in and kind of lead the pursuit of the game, you can play something like Wander Home. You can play Alice is Missing. You can play, like, there are games that have built-in either GM-less or GM-less adjacent stuff. You can play a duet game where there's kind of no GM, even if there is a GM. So it's like, I encourage you to toe dip, even if it's doing something like play Dread. Dread, I think, is one of the safest things to GM because you just have to be evil. That's the way that game works. You just have to be evil. You don't have to do any prep. You set the scenario and the players largely make their own destruction. So I encourage people to learn to GM, but I also then, on the flip side, encourage people to invite GMs to play at their table. One of the greatest things I ever did in my entire life was when I first was learning how to GM, I said, I know a bunch of GMs. I would like them to all play at my table. They all now are still in my home game. It is a table of GMs. and now one person who's not a GM, soon to be two, but that's fine. Like, it started as my gift to forever GMs because I wanted them to tell me when I was doing something wrong, because there was a lot of potential for that to happen. Let's see here. Erica is GMing the Wild Sea. We love the Wild Sea. And they were considered collective GMing. There's a Dragonfly rule set that is a GM-less rule set. Yep. I really like the GMing system though for the Wild Sea. I actually highly recommend it. Because you just have to have a handle on the story, and then you get to be the Wild Sea, which is a wild and strange place. I really liked GMing the Wild Sea, actually. Erica said one day their brain decided they could run a game for Hamna Shahid, and I won't die, and it will be fun. You are right. Oh my god, that's so fun. Yeah, listen. The Wild Sea is great. Hamna is great. And everyone should not listen to their critics in their brain, and know that any GMing is better than no GMing. And I bet that you are a better GM than you give yourself credit for. And don't let the, I'm going to rename it, don't let the Connie Chong effect get you. Not everyone is going to be Connie, but that's okay. And I think that Ta would say as much. So go GM your evil heart's content. Go GM your sweetest, kindest heart's content. I'm an evil GM. I'm flat evil, but, there are plenty of not evil GMs out there, and you can definitely go do that, and it will make it so that you can have home games and play games that you like with your friends, like we used to do around campfires. One of my fondest memories of childhood is I used to go work at camps, and we would have campfire time where we would tell ridiculous, jokey stories, and it was some of the best stuff. So, like, reconnecting with that part of me that used to do campfire skits and stuff like that has been so good for me, and I find nothing but joy in it, both for telling stories just for my friends, and the like wider joy of just intimately telling stories, you know? No, my automat is vicious. I'm so sorry. So yeah, that's my case. And if you are a maker of actual play, a performer in actual play, a producer of actual play, you better play for fun. I say this with all the love in my heart. I hope that you are playing TTRPGs for fun offline with your friends. Maybe with your friends that aren't TTRPG performers. Actually, some of my favorite grounding experiences are playing with people who just watch AP sometimes, but they're not performers. They have no aspirations to be performers. Because it reminds me that, oh yeah, this is good in all of its facets, in all of its forms, and they tell incredibly good stories. So there is no, you should never go, wow, you're a really good TTRPG player, you should do actual play. You should go, wow, you're a really good TTRPG performer or player, and that's great. Yeah. Excuse me, you can't just come in here and talk about a Theatus recording in my chat, Sam. Anyways, I'm being threatened by my producer with something great and beautiful. Oh no! Blistar Bean says that their neurospicy brain has started picking up the way that y'all narrate your characters in your actual play groups and talking like that in your home games. You should, because like know that also the other side of this is that if you are an AP performer, you should always be pursuing your craft. So I had like a 2-hour long conversation this morning, literally about like the pursuit of craft and refining it and making sure that you are like going after it in the way that is fruitful to the story and to the work that you are doing. And that's one of the joys of having a dramaturg like we have. But even if you don't have a dramaturg on your project, like pursuit of craft and skill is a magpie's pursuit. You should steal from the best. You admire the way someone does something, you should steal it. I blatantly stole the original like beginnings of what has made me my worst self, the way that I describe mechanics. I stole it from watching Liam O'Brien. You should steal from the best. You should absolutely pilfer, make it your own, and go whole ham with it. And it's definitely not what Liam does anymore at all. But I started with that seed, and it became mine. And all good actual play, even if it's your GM like story plot, steal from your favorite TV show. No one's gonna judge you, especially if you're just playing offline. Just pilfer from the best. It is not like AI where you are only regurgitating things that you stole. You are borrowing them and transforming them. Yeah, I believe in you. I believe in you, Bliss Starbeam. And with that, I know this wasn't as long, but I also I'm a deep fried Kai. It's been a hoot and a holler, so I'm going to yes, Jovi. Good artists steal and combine, like Jovi's amazing art that they just dropped on the Transplanter server over the weekend that you should go check out. Oh, tarot card pull. Absolutely. I'm going to read what you wrote first. Some of Puck's inspiration pulls from Godkiller First Blood and other story pieces, even pulled from things like Cookie Run Kingdom. Yeah! Nothing is created in a vacuum. Be inspired by the people that you look up to. You should absolutely do that. Okay, tarot card pull. Move all of the Zeinen off of my table that I have not cleaned up from the weekend. Excuse me, Mr. Esh. Get off of my table. You are in the way. I have to do a tarot card pull. Throwing dice on the ground. Let's go. Down camera. Hello, down camera. Give this a shuffle. But thanks for is Zeinen getting new dice for Arc 4? As of now, no, but I am gonna be using dice that I haven't used a lot. Because I've mostly used the same like 3 sets of dice. And I have a ridiculous amount of Zeinen Esh dice, to be very clear. I have a problem. But it's not a problem. Right now my problem is that I took all of my costume pieces and threw them all over my desk. From Saturday. God, I don't know what day it is. And while I shuffle this for Puck, I just want to say thank you all so much for hanging out. And for listening to this. I know it was kind of a dense rant, but it's something that's near and dear to my heart. Yes, I certainly do use those dice. Especially because you never know when Connie's going to make us pull out a die that I'm like, I didn't have that in my set here, but that's okay. I have them all in a tray. Okay, Puck. This one's for you, friend. Oh. The Emperor. Wow. I don't think I've ever pulled the Emperor from this deck. The Emperor. Protection, stability, the father. The Emperor is the father. He's the tarot's perfect counterpart to the Empress. Oh, hi Flynn, thanks for the resub. He represents the side of you that's protective, decisive, and truly stable. He brings clarity of mind, and this in turn leads to actions or decisions. Sometimes this card is literal and points to a paternal relationship in your life, and other times it suggests reconnecting with the part of you that stands strong and tall and knows just what to do. With help from the sun, the Emperor can see for miles and miles. I'm so glad that you find this reassuring. This is a hell of a card, and I hope that you know that stability and protection only work if you also reach your roots to others who you are with. Thanks for that. So yeah, great tarot card pull. Yeah. So with that, let's talk about the week. Let's talk about what's going on. If you haven't already watched it, first of all, you should go watch the Arc 3 interlude of Transplanter RPG that aired on Saturday. It's available on Twitch and YouTube. We will be back with more Transplanter RPG on October 25th. So be ready, because I'm not. It's going to be a good time. Let's see here. Blister Bean says one of their current home games is a Fate Core campaign with the GM. The GM had them pull 3 tarot cards each and pick one and build your characters based on that. I love that. And actually, there's a system that is in harmony with this idea that a friend of mine wrote, actually, Decima, written by Golden Lasso published by Golden Lasso Games, written by my friend Kimmy Hughes of Golden Lasso Games over on Happy Jacks. And it is a tarot-based like character and world-building game system, but it's all just a tarot deck too. And Puck says, I'm sorry that my cards can be awful, but I'm glad that they're helpful to you and that they are constructive, because I have a deck that I shouldn't never read from on this channel because it is rude. It's my rude deck. It lives in my bedroom because I only use it on my friends to be painfully blunt with them, because that's all that deck is. Yes, Jovi, it's time to go home. I'll be normal about it. Okay, so with that, calendar, where are you? Tomorrow, you can join me and Sam, who is in chat and lurking around, for the Fourth Age, Book 3. Oh my god, is that really tomorrow? I feel like I must be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that yes, it actually is tomorrow. Holy smokes. Yeah, that's tomorrow. That's October 7th, tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, over on Wounded Warrior Project, with me, the incredible Lexi Black Girl Mage, Beck Caustic Phoenix, CB IRN, fucking, I think it sounds like we're getting threatened with a good time with Theodos, Jasper William Cartwright, and Sam as the most perfect hobbit in the whole wide world, and our singular storyteller, Ed Spence, with the Return of the Fourth Age, which is a charity one-ring actual play adventure for the Stream to Serve initiative from Wounded Warrior Project, where we are in the One Ring. We will be exploring the end of this story. The third book begins tomorrow, where I play Erland of Mithland, my beloved character, come all the way from Happy Jacks from 2021. My sweet elf shipwright returns tomorrow with our amazing fellowship. So you can tune in tomorrow for that. Holy smokes, I cannot believe that's tomorrow. I literally made myself go check the socials, even though it's in my calendar. And then as a reminder, we're taking tomorrow off for the Road to Nowhere over on Happy Jacks. We got just life stuff going on, so we're taking the night off. And then I'll be back here on a Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern time for more Fallout New Vegas, where who knows what I think we're gonna go and launch some rockets and meet some ghouls over there. And then you can tune in for the still unannounced, I believe, unless I got a message about it during this stream. I have an unannounced game that starts on Friday, so if you want to watch me in something that's not announced yet on Friday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. That will be announced very soon. And I promise I'll be a problem over there. And then I will see you all back here next week for more Seems Right and all the other good stuff. But in the meantime, all the other stuff that's going on, you can always go check out more Lori's House. We are in production on the next episode. I was hearing about it not long ago. That drops soon wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to catch up on that, you can go check out Lori's House from Tender Vicious Studios, in which I am the architect, which is the GM role. You can go hear me narrate memory and magical realism anywhere you get your podcasts. And so, yeah, there's lots of Kai to go around, even more to go around in the very near future with the return of the Chaos Protocol on October 25th. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for hanging out, for letting me rant about how you should play tabletop games for yourself. And I will see you all on tomorrow over on Wounded Warrior Project. I'll see you then. Bye.